Welcome to the Glitch Archives. Tonight, we plunge into the digital underworld, to an era when the dark web was a whisper and an audacious vision emerged from the shadows. We chronicle the rise and precipitous fall of the Silk Road, an illicit online marketplace that rewrote the rules of digital commerce and challenged the very fabric of state control. At its helm, a mysterious figure, known only as the Dread Pirate Roberts. But who was he? And how did a single individual construct an empire beyond the reach of law enforcement, creating a global bazaar for contraband, hidden in plain sight?
Our story begins not with a criminal mastermind, but with a young, idealistic Texan named Ross Ulbricht. A University of Texas graduate with a background in physics and a fervent belief in libertarian principles, Ulbricht envisioned a world where individuals could trade freely, unburdened by government oversight or taxation. He saw the internet, specifically its hidden layers, as the ultimate arena for this grand experiment. It was a philosophy that would drive him to create something unprecedented, an Amazon for anything, where anonymity was paramount and the rule of law seemingly irrelevant.
The foundation of Ulbricht's radical dream rested on two groundbreaking technologies, Tor and Bitcoin. Tor, short for the Onion Router, provided the impenetrable cloak of anonymity. It routed internet traffic through a global network of volunteer relays, encrypting it multiple times, making it nearly impossible to trace the origin or destination of a connection. For anyone seeking to operate outside the traditional internet's watchful eye, Tor was the essential first step, a digital labyrinth designed for complete concealment. It was the perfect stage for a hidden marketplace.
But anonymity alone wasn't enough. How could transactions occur without revealing identities? The answer lay in Bitcoin, the revolutionary decentralized digital currency. Bitcoin offered pseudonymity and transactions that were irreversible and untraceable through conventional financial institutions. It was money outside the system, perfectly aligned with Ulbricht's vision of a truly free market. Combined, Tor and Bitcoin promised a haven where buyers and sellers could interact with unprecedented freedom, shielding them from the prying eyes of authorities.
In January 2011, the Silk Road quietly launched. Initially, it was a modest venture, a digital storefront with a sparse selection. Ulbricht, under the alias Dread Pirate Roberts, a nod to the character from The Princess Bride who passed on his identity, meticulously built the site. He coded its features, managed its servers, and cultivated a community. He believed he was creating more than just a marketplace. He was forging a real-world application of his libertarian ideals, a new frontier where government had no sway and individuals could truly govern themselves.
The early days were slow. Ulbricht initially struggled to attract vendors and customers. He spent countless hours promoting the site on hidden forums, debating economic philosophy, and explaining the intricate security measures that protected users. He was a tireless evangelist for his vision, convincing skeptics that this was a truly secure and viable alternative to street-level transactions. Slowly, word began to spread across the dark corners of the internet, whispers of a new kind of online bazaar, protected by layers of encryption and digital currency. As the months passed, the Silk Road began to gain traction. What started as a small, experimental platform quickly evolved. The number of listings grew exponentially, encompassing everything from cannabis to pharmaceuticals, digital services to illicit chemicals. It was becoming a self-sustaining ecosystem, a multi-million-dollar enterprise thriving in the shadows of the internet.
The dread pirate Roberts had created a monster, an unregulated market seemingly impervious to the law. But as the empire expanded, so too did the attention it garnered, leading to a precarious game of cat and mouse that would define its tragic end. The Silk Road became a digital bazaar of unprecedented scale. By 2012, its listings swelled into the thousands, offering a bewildering array of controlled substances. Vendors and buyers, protected by the dual shields of Tor and Bitcoin, operated with a newfound sense of impunity. The platform even developed a sophisticated feedback system akin to legitimate e-commerce sites, allowing users to rate product quality and delivery speed. This level of trust, ironically built within an illicit marketplace, fostered its explosive growth, transforming it from a niche experiment into a booming shadow economy.
Estimates suggest the Silk Road facilitated hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions, generating substantial commissions for its operator, the dread pirate Roberts. This influx of digital currency flowed into Ulbricht's hands, transforming his libertarian experiment into a personal fortune. The site became a symbol, a defiant middle finger to traditional authority, demonstrating the power of decentralized technology to circumvent established laws. It was a digital Wild West, where the rules were self-imposed and the law of the land was anonymity. But the very success of the Silk Road drew the unwelcome attention of law enforcement agencies worldwide. The DEA, FBI, and various international bodies began to dedicate significant resources to dismantling what they saw as a direct threat to public safety and national security. The sheer volume of illicit trade was too vast to ignore. This global dragnet began to tighten, with agents from multiple countries pooling their expertise, meticulously attempting to unravel the layers of encryption and anonymity that protected the dread pirate Roberts. Despite the sophisticated security architecture of Tor and Bitcoin, human error remained the weakest link. Ross Ulbricht, the architect of this dark empire, began to make crucial mistakes, small missteps that would ultimately prove to be his undoing. The illusion of impenetrable anonymity fostered a dangerous overconfidence. He believed he was untouchable, capable of orchestrating a global criminal enterprise from the safety of his laptop. But every digital action leaves a trace, a faint echo in the vast expanse of the internet.
One of the most significant early blunders occurred in the innocuous corners of a website called Stack Overflow. In 2008, long before the inception of the Silk Road, a user named Frosty posted a programming question, seeking help on how to connect to a hidden service on Tor. This Frosty later directly referenced a personal email address, rossulbricht@gmail.com, for follow-up questions. It was a seemingly harmless interaction, years before his criminal enterprise, but this digital breadcrumb would eventually lead investigators directly to his door.
This wasn't an isolated incident. As dread pirate Roberts, Ulbricht occasionally slipped. In online forums discussing the Silk Road, he once used the handle Altoid in promotional posts. Investigators would later trace this Altoid handle back to another seemingly innocent forum post, one that again linked to Ulbricht's personal email. The lines between his personal digital identity and his illicit alter ego began to blur, creating a patchwork of clues for anyone tenacious enough to connect the dots. The digital persona of the dread pirate was far from perfect.
These seemingly minor digital footprints scattered across the internet started to form a pattern. They represented the crack in the armor of the seemingly impenetrable dread pirate Roberts. While the world marveled at the resilience of the Silk Road,
The real identity of its creator was slowly, painstakingly being pieced together by a dedicated team of cyber investigators. They were closing in, not with dramatic raids, but with forensic precision, using Ulbricht's own digital ghost to betray him. The golden age of the Silk Road was nearing its end, its downfall foreshadowed by the very man who built it.
As law enforcement continued their painstaking work, another, far more sinister layer of the Dread Pirate Roberts operations began to emerge. Documents and chat logs later uncovered suggested that Ulbricht, in his desperation to protect his multi-million-dollar empire and the anonymity of his users, allegedly contemplated and even initiated acts of extreme violence. This alleged turn from idealistic libertarian to ruthless kingpin marked a dark shift in the narrative of the Silk Road, staining its philosophical origins with the grim specter of attempted murder.
The allegations centered around two distinct incidents. The first involved a disgruntled former employee or user who allegedly stole a significant amount of Bitcoin from Silk Road accounts. Identified in Ulbricht's communications as friendly chemist, this individual supposedly threatened to expose thousands of user identities unless a ransom was paid. Ulbricht, fearful for his empire's security and the safety of his anonymous users, allegedly sought to neutralize this threat by any means necessary, turning to the very dark corners of the internet he had created.
Through encrypted messages, Ulbricht allegedly contacted individuals he believed were professional hitmen on the dark web. The price for friendly chemist's elimination was set, several $100,000 in Bitcoin. He conveyed the target's details and demanded proof of death. While the murders themselves never actually occurred, it was later revealed that Ulbricht was likely scammed by an undercover agent. The intent, documented in chilling detail, painted a portrait of a man willing to cross an unimaginable line to safeguard his creation.
A second, similar plot also surfaced, involving a vendor suspected of stealing from the Silk Road and attempting to extort Ulbricht. Again, digital communications appeared to show Dread Pirate Roberts engaging in negotiations for another contract killing, again for a substantial sum in Bitcoin. These alleged attempts at commissioning murder, even if the target survived, deeply impacted Ulbricht's defense and public perception, transforming him from a perceived digital idealist into a figure associated with extreme violence and criminal desperation.
The discovery of these alleged hit-for-hire plots galvanized law enforcement. They now saw not just an online drug market, but a criminal enterprise willing to use deadly force. This dramatically increased the urgency and resources dedicated to identifying and apprehending the Dread Pirate Roberts. The investigation, which had been a slow burn of digital forensics and intelligence gathering, escalated into a full-blown manhunt spanning multiple agencies and continents. The net was closing, and the stakes were higher than ever before.
The FBI, led by a dedicated team of cyber agents, had finally pieced together enough clues from Ulbricht's digital footprint, including the Stack Overflow posts and other forum activities, to identify him as the prime suspect. They knew his name, his approximate location, and even his habits. But catching the Dread Pirate Roberts while he was actively operating the Silk Road was critical. They needed to seize his laptop while it was open and logged in, before he could deploy the site's self-destruct measures or encrypt key evidence. The challenge was immense, requiring impeccable timing and an element of complete surprise.
The stage was set for the takedown. On October 1, 2013, Ross Ulbricht made a fateful decision to visit the Glen Park Branch Library in San Francisco. Unbeknownst to him, FBI agents were already in position, meticulously planning an operation that would lead to his capture and the dismantling of his vast empire. The confrontation needed to be executed flawlessly, a carefully choreographed digital ambush to prevent any escape or destruction of evidence. The fate of the Silk Road and its enigmatic creator hung in the balance, poised on the precipice of its final dramatic act.
Inside the Glen Park Library, Ross Ulbricht sat engrossed at his laptop, logged into the administrative backend of the Silk Road. He was meticulously managing his empire, unaware that his world was about to violently unravel. The FBI's plan was audacious: create a diversion. Two agents, posing as a bickering couple, would stage a loud public argument near Ulbricht's table. The commotion would draw his attention, creating a window of opportunity for a third agent to move in and seize his open laptop before he could react.
The staged argument erupted, a sudden jarring noise in the quiet library. Ulbricht, momentarily distracted, looked up. In that split second, the third agent, Christopher Tarbell, moved with precision. He snatched the laptop. The dread Pirate Roberts, the elusive mastermind behind a multi-million-dollar dark web empire, was caught completely off guard. His digital fortress breached by a simple yet brilliantly executed physical maneuver. He watched in disbelief as his active session containing the keys to his kingdom was secured. With the laptop secured, the immediate task was to confirm his identity and gather irrefutable evidence. Ulbricht was apprehended, and a meticulous forensic examination of his computer began. The open session on his laptop provided immediate access to the Silk Road's inner workings, revealing mountains of incriminating data. It was the smoking gun: chat logs, transactions, administrative controls, all directly linked to Ross Ulbricht. The digital ghost of dread Pirate Roberts had been unmasked, his true identity now undeniably exposed. The arrest of Ross Ulbricht sent shockwaves through the dark web. Within hours, the Silk Road was shut down, its infamous login page replaced by an FBI seizure notice. The Amazon for drugs had fallen, its servers seized, its users' anonymity compromised. For many, it marked the end of an era, a harsh reminder that even in the deepest corners of the internet, the long arm of the law could eventually reach. The dream of a truly free, ungoverned online market had collided with the harsh realities of criminal justice.
Ross Ulbricht was charged with multiple felonies, including narcotics trafficking, money laundering, and computer hacking. The trial was highly publicized, bringing the obscure world of the dark web into mainstream discourse. Despite a passionate defense that painted Ulbricht as a libertarian idealist and his alleged role in contract killings as a scam, the evidence was overwhelming. The jury found him guilty on all counts, marking a significant victory for federal prosecutors in their battle against online criminality.
In May 2015, Ross Ulbricht was sentenced to 2 life terms plus 40 years in prison without the possibility of parole. The severity of the sentence reflected the enormous scale of the Silk Road's operations and the court's firm stance against enabling illegal activities online. The rise and fall of dread Pirate Roberts became a cautionary tale, a stark example of the legal consequences awaiting those who believe the internet offers true impunity. Yet his story continues to spark debate about digital freedom and government oversight.
The legacy of the Silk Road is complex. It was a groundbreaking experiment in decentralized commerce, a testament to the power of Tor and Bitcoin, but also a dark chapter demonstrating the inherent dangers of unchecked digital anonymity. While Ulbricht's empire crumbled, the technology he employed persists, continually evolving,
And the cat-and-mouse game between digital criminals and law enforcement continues to this day. The Glitch Archives remains committed to dissecting these digital mysteries. If you seek to understand the unseen forces shaping our digital world, subscribe to access the archive.